Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chosen Subject podcast, the podcast that started because I couldn't pick one subject to talk about, so I got the guests to pick one. This episode we are joined by Chrissy Derbyshire, whose chosen subject was nostalgia. Growing up in a different time to Chrissy, it was quite nice to compare our two childhoods. As always, make sure to follow the guests on social media. I have linked them in the description. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Chosen Subject podcast. So I always start with the same questions. What is your favourite TV show?
I have quite a well-documented interest in Taskmaster. Most people know I like that. My big show growing up was Frasier. Really into Frasier when I was a teenager. I think Fleabag is probably the best thing that's ever been on TV. So take one of those.
Heard of Taskmaster, heard of Fleabag. I don't think I've heard of the second one you mentioned.
Frasier,
Yeah,
big in the
yeah.
90s. It was on
Okay.
After Friends,
Okay.
but it was more cerebral, and I was a snob, so it made me feel intelligent.
Fair enough. Fair enough. A lot of people do say Taskmaster, which is fair enough. Taskmaster's a really, really, really good show.
Yeah,
Um, I'm excited for the new one, because aren't they releasing the names tonight, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. After the
Okay.
show, exciting.
I'm really excited. I have people I hope it is. I have like a list of people that like I really want on the show.
Yeah, I
Um,
always have a list, and Sarah Millican's now been knocked off that list. So you never know. Might get Richard Ayoade this year.
hopefully. I think he'd be
Might.
good.
I think he'd be good, but I don't think he'd want to do it.
No, yeah, yeah.
I think there'd be too much that was out of his control. But one can dream.
Yeah. Um, who are other people that are on that like dream list?
So yeah, there'd be him, Stephen Mangan, just because I fancy him.
Fair
Um,
enough.
Fancy Richard Ayoade too. Comedians, curly hair. Um,
Fair play.
oh, who else would be on there these days? Oh, Jessica Foster Q. I'm really into Jessica Foster Q at the moment. She's brilliant.
She
Someone
is good.
recommended her to me. I watched one clip of her, absolutely fell in love, went to see her live. She's fantastic.
I could have met her.
Oh, what happened?
I've seen her live. Seen her live twice actually.
Oh,
So, um, I had a I went to, MacFest. Have you heard of
yeah.
MacFest? So I went to MacFest and she was doing oh my God, Trusty Hogs.
Mm,
And she was like the guest on there, and then like half an hour later I was kind of standing away around, just like waiting for the next gig I was going to. And she was there, like right in front of me, literally just
mm.
sat on a table. But it was like I didn't feel comfortable enough to like go and walk off and be like, I love your show so much. Like you're really funny, I really like you. Like at that point I wasn't used to talking to comedians. Looking
Yeah.
back on it, I wish I went and be like, hi, I really like your set. Um, and then I saw her, I think the month after or the same month, because she was doing a joint gig with someone. The shows that have got like six comedians.
Mm.
She was doing one of those, and she's really, really funny.
She's
Like she's so
amazing.
good. She would be so good on Taskmaster.
She would. She'd smash it, I reckon. She'd be kind of Kerry Godliman style bosh. I almost met her as well. Because
Pardon?
yeah, I have an almost meeting Jessica Foster Q story.
Okay, what
um,
happened? What happened?
I mentioned on Twitter that I was going to see her show and that the Glee Club had, as part of their kind of form to fill in to get your ticket or whatever, it would say, "It looks like you're going on your own. Is that right?" And it was so humiliating to have even the Glee Club pointing out what a Billy No Mates I was. So I put this on Twitter and said that I might take my IKEA giant shark with me as my plus one. And I tagged her in it, and she liked the idea. It turned out I ended up going with my friend anyway, but I was waiting a long time for her. And I was sitting outside the Glee Club waiting for my friend holding a giant shark. And someone walked past me and smiled at me. But in my head, I didn't really know this person. I was feeling a bit awkward because I was sitting there holding a big plush shark. And I just kind of went. And as she walked past me, I thought, that Jessica flipping Foster-Q. So, yeah, I blanked her.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jessica.
I feel like we might both be able to meet her again in the future
Yeah.
and actually go up and be like, "Hi, I really like you. You're really cool. Like, you're really funny."
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure the opportunity will arise at some point.
So, moving away from TV shows slightly,
Yeah.
what is your favorite movie?
This one's easy. It's Labyrinth. Always has been Labyrinth.
Good film. Good film. Good film.
Yeah, I was obsessed with it as a kid. When I hit about 12 and looked in the mirror and thought, I could look a little bit like Sarah from Labyrinth, I actually burst into tears. It's such a huge thing. I'm a big Jim Henson fan. Hang on, if you can see. If you can see. Actually, I have a picture of Jim Henson next to my bed.
Yeah, I love it so much. It's such a good film.
Yeah.
It's such a good film. My mum's a big fan of it, so it was one of the films that I watched when I was younger, just because my mum was like, "You must like this film. It's such a good film, like it." And I obviously, like, through that, got really into the film. It's really, really, really good.
It is. It's brilliant. It's so different from anything
Yeah,
else. Just
it's
mad
yeah,
puppets plus David Bowie. It shouldn't work, but it really does.
yes, it does. It does.
Yeah, my daughter was talking to me a little while ago about how she's surprised that it never really scared her because she was always quite
Yeah,
a timid kid. Like she made me, she tried to get me to throw away half of her DVDs because she was scared of them, including Shrek 2, because she was scared of something that happened in one of the extras. But yeah,
fair
for some
enough.
reason she was never scared of Labyrinth, and I don't know why, because it was legitimately scary. A baby
Yes,
got stolen out of its crib by a man. I mean, technically a goblin, but man shaped, very man shaped, famously man shaped. Sorry.
yeah, no. Apart from that, do you have any other favorite movies?
um, it's a lot of stuff from when I was a kid, really. It's Never Ending Story, Muppet Christmas
Family.
Carol,
Good film. Yeah.
The Last Unicorn. Do you know The Last Unicorn?
I don't.
It's a little bit niche. It was on the telly a lot when I was a kid, which will mean nothing to you because it was a long time before you were born. Um, but it was kind of in an anime-ish style.
Okay.
It was very fantasy. I think it had Mia Farrow and Angela Lansbury, maybe Jeff Bridges doing voice acting. And again, it's quite sinister. It's quite creepy. The last of all of the unicorns has been changed into a woman, I think, to protect her from someone who's trying to in some way steal or use the unicorns. I don't remember this well enough to to tell you the plot of it, but it was very beautiful and it had lovely music.
Okay. Weirdly, because it's got nothing to do with it, but weirdly, that just reminded me of like being young and watching like wacky races.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not even linked in like the slightest
No, that
at
could hardly
all.
be more different, but go on.
But like my brain just went, oh yeah, wacky races exist, which that was quite weird.
Yeah. That's another thing you couldn't really say the plot of, but that wouldn't be your fault because I don't think it had one. It was just they have a
Yeah,
race and someone wins.
because it was like this guy that was like trying to sabotage everyone.
Yes. Dick Dastardly.
Uh, yeah, and he had
Dastardly
a
and
dog.
Muttley. Yeah, Muttley.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then there was these two like not caveman, like sto. I'm gonna say caveman. They're not.
I don't think you're going to offend anyone. I think that ship sailed
But that was again like a TV show that was out before I was born, I think.
before I was
I think
born.
it, yeah, okay. But I think my mum liked it and therefore was like, here you go, watch this.
Yeah.
Um, there was another show that I keep forgetting. The thing is, I remember old TV shows more than I remember the ones that were actually out when I was young
Mm.
because like my parents have showed me them and like trying to like a large amount of my stand-up is about a show from like the 90s.
Yes, I know. Oh no, the
Um,
theme tune's in my head now.
yeah.
You see, you've shot yourself in the foot here because now you're intrinsically associated with Beatles about whatever happens.
It's amazing though. Because as much as I hate it, it's given me like a 10-minute set at this point.
Yeah.
So gotta love it. There was another show that was quite weird. Um, and it's like I remember it starting and it was like, you know, the wind-up boxes that you get clowns out of. No, it
A
wasn't. It
Jack
was
in the
like a
Box.
screen. Yeah, it was like a screen, but it had that wind bit. And it'd be
Oh.
like they were winding the titles. But
Hmm.
they weren't people. They were like little figures, I guess.
Hmm.
It's Trumpton. There we go.
Oh gosh, yeah, that
Took
was
me
before my
so long.
time. Trumpton was before my time.
Took me so long. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I had to like message like four different people to find out the answer.
I've never heard
Um,
someone shout, "It's Trumpton" with such joy, though.
do you ever watch Trumpton? Have you ever seen it?
I've seen clips from it. I never watched it. It was before my time.
Okay.
So
Again,
yeah,
I think
it
that
will have
one
been
was
one of those ones that you were introduced to by older
yeah.
people. Yeah.
I find that a lot of the TV shows I was watching wasn't like on TV.
Is Trumpton the
It
one
was
with
either
you, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble, and Grub?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the scene that they always show.
So completely and utterly moving on from whatever that was. What is your favorite book?
I've got lots of favorite books. Most of them aren't that interesting to talk about, but I brought one in, like
Okay.
I'm doing show and tell in class, because I think it's one that people won't know about, or most people won't know about. This is called Discovering Scarfolk. Have you heard of
Okay.
Scarfolk?
I haven't.
Um, it started as, I think, a blog on Tumblr.
Okay.
And the premise behind Scarfolk is that Scarfolk is this little English town that is perpetually stuck in some year in the 1970s, um, but a really dark timeline.
Okay.
And so it's got this wonderful feel to it. It appeals to me anyway. That's kind of a mixture of nostalgia and kind of folk horror, hauntology type stuff. Um, and it'll have things like, oh, I'm not going to show you one, but there's in the original blog there would be kind of various posters, mock-ups of posters, mock-ups of food packaging and signs and all that kind of thing. And there was a poster that just said no on it. And then at the bottom, for more information, please reread this poster. Um, and yeah, it's very surreal, but it feels very realistic.
Okay.
Like yeah, got fake sweet packets there, and horrible leaflets and things from newspapers. It's just very clever, and I love the weird, creepy, funny but creepy atmosphere of it. The better known thing that I could think of to compare it to would be something like the League of Gentlemen.
Okay. That isn't a book I have read, but it sounds interesting.
It is, and I yeah, I wanted to show you because I thought probably a lot of people wouldn't have read it, and I
Yeah.
recommend it if you have exactly the same taste in things as I do. Some people
Um,
might never know.
it it genuinely does sound very interesting. I have decided that my podcasts are one big like advert for Rob Beckett's book.
Yeah,
Like have you read it?
I haven't. No.
It's so good. It was the book that originally got me into reading.
Wow, it's always
Um,
interesting to hear the books that um sparked an interest in reading.
so last year I read one book and that was James A. Caster's Classic Scrapes. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed that book because I still am, but at that point I was a big James A. Caster fan. Um, so I read that book and I really enjoyed it because I really, really like James. But I was like, nah, I only like that book because it's him. But then I
Mm.
read Rob Beckett's book and it was like a whole different new feeling.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. I should give it a go.
Um, I really, really, really recommend it. I liked Rob as a comedian. Like I thought he was really talented and really good. And then I read his book and now he's like one of my favorite comedians. I love him so much. And I want to meet him and be like, my podcast is just one big advertisement for you. I love you so much.
Should
Um,
tag him in every tweet you do about it.
yes. I might just make a complicated compilation of just every time I'm just like, read Rob Beckett's book and then just tag him in it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Can enlist one of the people in the Britcom fandom who does those edits. Have all of the clips of you showing off his book to some jaunty soundtrack.
yeah. So moving away from books, what is your favorite genre of music?
Ah, I don't know. It's difficult to pick a genre. If I listen to quite a lot of uh, kind of 60s folk music.
Okay, fair
Uh,
enough.
I listen to a lot of the time. I just listen to like a 90s playlist. Um, I don't know. Is 90s a genre? And yeah, I wouldn't know what genre to put them in, but I really like Kate Bush, really like Tori Amos, I really like Lana Del Rey.
Very
Um,
good. Very good singers.
my teenage obsession was Queen. I still listen to them a lot. So yeah, that genre.
Oh.
That genre.
I mean, the 90s is just seen as a like a genre now. It just like
It is. It is, but there's quite a big step, isn't there, between
there
Say La
is.
Vie and Gangster's Paradise. Do you know, apart from that, I quite like musicals. Quite like listening to musical soundtracks. Um, it's not very cool, but I'm not very cool.
Um, what's your favorite like musical soundtrack to listen to?
I think my favourite of all time is probably Phantom of the Opera, just because I grew up with it.
Yeah,
My
fair
parents
enough.
took me to see Phantom when I was, I think, 12,
Okay.
and we didn't have much money. I didn't think that I'd ever be able to go and see a musical in the West End, but they took me. And at that point, I thought the coolest way you could possibly go with clothes was a big white shirt and black leggings. That was my cool look. And I wore the biggest white shirt um, you could imagine. Not even just that you could imagine on a 12-year-old, the biggest white shirt that you could imagine on anybody, and
Okay.
black leggings. And I look at the photos now, and it looks like I'm in fancy dress as a table with a tablecloth on it or something. But I felt like I
Um,
was the business.
this is not against you. I was like expecting you to say like Hamilton, just
Mm.
because the amount of people that reply to that question with Hamilton.
Yeah, you see, I told you I'm not cool.
I've been asked to take this question out, so I want to know your opinion. What is your favorite question that you have ever asked someone or been asked?
I have one for this actually. I don't know that it's an actual question, but we'll see. Um, Recently, my daughter, just turned 13, was 12 at the time, said, "Mummy, you know that thing that's green?" And I said, uh, "There are lots of things that are green. Can you narrow it down?" And she said, "Well, I don't know that it's green, but it's got a green vibe." So yeah, I really enjoyed that question. It was Vicks Vapor Rub in the end.
Okay. Um, well, I can't really say much with the way that I've just described Trumpton, so
Yeah.
I can't say too much because that was
Compton will
the whole
hereafter be
green
known as
thing
that thing
is
that's green.
I the whole green thing I can relate to as well. I was once in high school in first like in year seven, first year, and I turned to my teacher and said, "What is that thing that turns green, amber, and red?"
Traffic light, is it?
It's like, yeah. Like the easiest thing, but when your brain just tells you you don't know what a word is and it just completely
Yes.
forgets what the word is. It was that. But then I got bullied about that for like years afterwards because I literally said it in front of the entire class. Like,
Oh. If it's any consolation, I once called my German teacher Mummy, and I was 15.
oh no, I know people that have like done that. Um, it's not great.
No, it was not. I was already bullied. It it didn't help.
I mean, no, that you mentioned that might not count. That does count. It counts. Um, People keep telling me to get rid of that question because apparently it's too difficult to answer.
um, it might have been difficult for me to answer if that hadn't recently happened. So
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Um,
I don't
this
think it's too
one,
bad asking a difficult question, though, is it? You can
no,
ask
because
people a
like
difficult question.
that question, like sometimes ends up being the entire podcast
Mm.
because people will ask a question and then that will go on like a massive rant and stuff. It will
Yeah.
go off and um, like I remember one that lasted quite a while and it was about ghosts. It was about like, do you believe in ghosts and stuff? And we ended up talking about it for like half an hour because like you can with that question because you ask the question back and then they kind of can explain.
Yeah, you see, even now I'm tempted to say, "Do you?" But no, is what
Um,
you've already done that podcast.
I think my answer to that was no, but I want to. I was gonna say something, but it's gone. That's been every single one of our podcasts recently. It's not good. Um, no,
Nope.
that's no.
Could rebrand it to the Forgetting Things podcast,
I might have to because I
if
did
you
a
remember.
recording on Monday for my other podcast, Sam Interviews, and there was about 4 points where I was like sat like this, being like, I don't know what I'm saying, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know. Like because I've
Yeah,
forgotten a point that I was trying to say.
yeah, that sounds like life.
But I also think Forgetting Things podcast is a lot better than Chosen Subject.
Well, there you go. You can have that for free.
Um, I've also been told to remove this question, and it is, have you read anything interesting recently?
No.
No.
No, I heard something good on Three Bean Salad podcast, if that helps.
Okay, that does. That does. What was it?
Cool. It's almost like reading, isn't it? Listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
It was an old one as well, so people might not remember it. Um, Apparently, um, octopuses don't have legs or tentacles; they have arms, all arms. And in
Mhm.
some breeds, one of the arms has a penis on the end, and you can tell which one is the one with the penis on the end because they're shy about it and try to hide it. Well, that was quite interesting, I thought.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Might be a bit of a
Um,
conversation ender.
but yeah, no, again, that question people have told me to take out because again, it could be quite difficult to answer. Um,
Yeah.
because I think it's such a niche question as well. So like I
Mm.
say, like, have you read anything, but you could have like heard it, seen it. Like it's not
Yeah.
um so like the podcast thing worked. Like I heard something on a podcast, like it works with a question.
Mm.
One last question as part of these like starter questions, and then we can get more into the topic.
Okay.
Do you have any hobbies?
Um, yes. Um, Recently got into comedy, doing comedy myself. Um, I guess that's I guess that's a hobby. I would like it to be more than a hobby, but I'm not sure you can say it's more than a hobby when you've only done one charity gig and two online open mics. Um, but that's that. I signed up to do the thing for charity, and it just became an instant passion. I just fell in love with it completely.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so that's the big one at the moment. I also read, I write, I cross stitch, do a bit of
Fair
art.
enough.
I My hobbies are all kind of all over the place because my brain is.
About your comedy and stuff, I've seen both, I think both of your online ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you're really, really, really good.
Oh,
Like, it's really funny.
thank you. And I've got some real life
Um,
open mics booked for the next couple of weeks.
that's so cool. That's so cool. Is that your, would that be like your second in-person open mic? Or was a
Uh,
charity one like online?
Charity one, it wasn't really an open mic. It was, I suppose, yeah, it would be my second in person gig. Yeah.
What was the charity one like? Like, what was it?
Um, we got 8 weeks sort of training. There wasn't that much kind of content in the training, but it was really good to kind of focus us on writing our material and then practicing it and practicing it and practicing it. So we all got to see all of our sets like 8 times, and it was quite boring for us and quite difficult for us to carry on delivering it because the the returns got less and less because the people had seen our material so many times. Um, so yeah, there was that, and then a big show in a quite a nice nightclub called Prism in Cardiff. It used to be in the Glee Club, the comedy club in Cardiff. They stopped doing that, I think, because they didn't like not having that much control over the kind of material that was um, being brought there. I think some of the people's material was a bit close to the bone and they didn't like that, maybe. Um, So yeah, I'm if I'd gone the year before, I would have got to have done it in the Glee Club. So I just missed that, but it was still really good. It felt like being part of something special. It was nice.
How did you like feel doing it all?
Amazing. The first session of training, we had to get up and say a bit about ourselves. And up to that point, I'd been pretty confident because I've done storytelling and public speaking before. So I was used to talking in front of people. And I got up to talk in front of quite a small group of people. And I suddenly thought, oh God, I sound so much less confident than everybody else. I'm stumbling over my words. Why did I think I could do this? Um, and then life got in the way, and I missed a couple of sessions. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it at all. But I kind of forced myself to go to the session after that, where we had to deliver what we had so far of our set for the first time. And that should have been terrifying. But as soon as I got up and started delivering the material that I'd written, just all the nerves fell away and it just felt really natural. I love it. I love making people laugh and making something light and silly of all the stupid, awful things about my personality. It's cathartic.
I was the exact same with like when I first performed. I remember being in the car because it took me like an hour to drive to where I was performing. And I remember being in the car and being like, I'm gonna do so badly. I hope like I get there and I can't even find the gig. I hope like something goes wrong between like now and then so I don't actually have to perform. Like I was so like I knew my set so well because I'd performed it like 3 times online.
Mm.
Um, I think my dad in a way was more nervous than me because my dad went with me and he's always been the dad to kind of tell me the truth. Like if he doesn't like something, if he thinks I could change something in a way, he will tell me. He won't just be like, yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
Um, which has been really, really helpful. And just seeing my dad, like as soon as I got on stage, like I was it was like when I first like delivered my first joke, I was really, really scared. I was still quite nervous. And then I got the first laugh. And then after the first laugh, it was like I was so natural at it. I was jumping around the stage quite a bit with like my jokes and stuff. So like instead of just standing there being like, better watch out, Beatles about, I was like moving and stuff. It was like all of my emotion, like all my worries was gone. And seeing my dad like in the front row turn red with laughter after being so nervous that he wouldn't enjoy it and have to talk to me after the gig being like, I didn't really like that, but maybe it's got something in it. Seeing my dad literally turn red with laughter and like him being the like loudest person laughing
Mm.
was the nicest feeling, I think. It's something that like I would like to make more than just a hobby.
Me too. So much.
I think you could genuinely could. Like seeing your online shows and stuff, I think you genuinely could.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely of you to say.
So, why did you pick like the subject that you have?
Because it's something I absolutely obsess over. I I watch so much stuff that I used to watch when I was a kid. I listen to so much music from when I was a kid. I don't know. There's something about it's my kind of safe, happy place, I suppose. Um, so yeah, it's something I am mildly obsessed with, and it'll probably end up in one of my sets at some point.
I mean, I'm writing about shows that were out even before I was born. So,
Yeah, I will make sure
I
not to
think
write about Beatles about because that's your material. That's all yours.
I also write about I don't know if you ever watched it. It was something my uncle thought was very funny to show me at a young age. Uh, I think the show was actually called Jigsaw.
Yeah,
Um, and it had the character Nosy Bonk in it.
Yeah.
I actually
Again,
got a picture
before
of
my
Nosy Bonk
time,
on my
but
floor. I've
but
actually
yes, I
got a
do.
picture of Nosy Bonk just
Yeah,
it happens when you're a comedian and you perform. Oh, I wouldn't say I'm a comedian, but you do online comedy and stuff. You just end up with weird little bits that you printed out as part of your set just everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely know what you mean about like rewatching stuff that you used to watch when you were younger and stuff. Um, this is gonna be so embarrassing. I mean, it's not. I literally mention it in pretty much every episode. Um, but it's still embarrassing. Um, so when I was very, very young, I remember I had like a set movies that I used to watch all the time.
Mm,
So they would include stuff like Annie,
yeah,
um, Garfield, absolutely love Garfield.
yeah.
Um, and then it was like Big Daddy, which is an Adam Sandler film. And then like Bedtime Stories, again, an Adam Sandler film. And I've noticed now I'm starting to grow up and stuff. Like whenever I feel not great mentally or whenever I'm like having a bit of a low day, I'll like put on like an Adam Sandler film that I used to watch when I was young. And it's like I'm like it's like getting a hug from your past self and be like,
Yeah,
it's gonna be okay.
yeah. That's not embarrassing.
It's because it's Adam Sandler.
Okay, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Like from anyone I could have picked, it was Adam Sandler.
Heart wants what it wants. I've got a playlist, a YouTube playlist of songs from things I used to watch when I was a kid that I put on when I'm feeling like being an adult is all too much.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm not even an adult. I wouldn't even say I'm an adult yet. I'm like an adult in. By the time this is out, I'm an adult. Let's go. Um, I'm currently 17, literally about to turn 18. So I'm not even an adult yet, and I'm needing the nostalgia and the stuff when I was younger.
Now, even my daughter does, and yeah, she's 13, but she's already got things that she thinks, did I just dream that or was that real? And has to look
Yeah,
them up. And it's like something from 2009 and it's just horrifying. Not even 2000, that was when she was born, like 2011, then 2012.
fair enough. Wow. I'm just that's recent.
Yeah, right.
That's made me feel old.
Ah, it comes to us all.
So what do you normally watch to like get like do you have like films that you watch or is it like TV shows? Is it certain bands? Like what do you normally do to like what normally gives you the most nostalgic feeling?
There's that playlist, which is my go-to when I'm working and feeling grumpy about it. Um, it's got things, it's got songs from things like American Tail and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Um, and do you know the Robin Williams movie Toys?
I think I do, yeah,
Um, and also from like TV shows like My Little Pony and Care Bears and The Dreamstone, which no one's heard of, but was my favorite when I was a kid. So yeah, just lots of mostly very tacky ballads and background music, but I love it.
yeah. I used to own this is well, I was gonna say it's embarrassing, but you know what? I'm not embarrassed. I used to own like My Little Pony like figures and stuff. Yeah. But like I didn't know anyone else that did. It was literally just like me.
Oh,
But I don't know if that's because I got them from like my mum, because my mum really, really liked the show. Um, it's like something that she watched when like she was a child and like brings her like nostalgic feeling and stuff.
yeah.
I thought it was quite weird the fact that like I watched movies and stuff from when I was like young to be able to
Mm.
feel like safe.
Yeah. I think I
It's
think
quite
a lot of
weird.
people do that.
Yeah,
I think it's fairly universal that things, if you had an okay childhood, that things from your childhood would make you feel happy and safe. I think that's pretty
yeah.
normal.
I think this might show the age difference here. There's a YouTube channel that I have been watching for 10 years, 10, nearly 11 years. And it's become a thing where they're like my dads. Like they're not, but like I've been watching them so long that like
Mm,
it's come to a point where like I've seen them grow
mm.
in a way I've grown with them.
Yeah.
And it's always been like if I'm having like a really bad panic attack, I'll put them on and it's like I feel safe. I remember one day I was having a really, really bad panic attack to the point where like I tried every technique there is, like anything you could Google, anything that like my therapist had given me on how to stop them.
Mm.
And it just didn't, like it wasn't like it was big.
Yeah.
And then I put these two YouTubes on and it was like I went from so panicky that I could not breathe to like I was laughing.
That's nice.
Um, yeah.
Great to
But I
have
think
anything like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's this nostalgic thing because I've watched them since a young child that it's like I can kind of go back to being like, when you're young, you kind of like nothing could like the world's perfect. The world's like
Yeah.
the Care Bears will protect me.
Yeah.
Um, but then like you kind of watch stuff and it's like it brings you back to that feeling. And I think that's why I like them so much. Do you kind of is it just me that gets that?
That feeling that everything's safe if you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's definitely me too, and I'm sure loads and loads of other people too.
I kind of noticed real like lately how this podcast has been very mental health based.
Mm.
Like, I did a podcast recording with someone called Amelia, and that episode was literally talking about how like my brain is and like when I go to sleep and stuff, like
Yeah,
in detail. So I've realized how much like mental health this podcast is.
that's
Um,
good though. I think people are talking about their mental health now,
yeah,
and a lot of the time, once you start, you just want to keep on talking about it because up until fairly recently, there's not been that outlet to talk about mental health, and it's so important. So, no, it's a good thing.
is there anything
Um,
that like you've watched recently that kind of remind you of being a child, but maybe wasn't there when you were young?
oh, that wasn't there when I was young. Oh, that's an interesting one. Probably. I watch quite a lot of old um kind of ad breaks and uh kind of what do you call the bits in between the programs? I can't remember. Continuity, ad breaks and continuity from the 80s and 90s. I watch quite a lot of that on YouTube, and often I've no idea whether I saw that at the time. I might well not have, but there's something very familiar and comforting about it.
But like I grew up with shows like Miranda.
Mm. Oh, God.
Like I
How can
used
you
to
have grown up
love
with
Miranda
shows like
so much.
Miranda? That's now, isn't it?
Can you Google it? Because like I was quite young when I was watching Miranda.
You're so young.
Miranda,
That's all this
British
episode is.
sitcom.
It's just me
Yeah,
lamenting how old I am and how young you are.
2009.
That is quite a long time ago, actually, because that's when was born my daughter.
And I was born in 2005, so I'd have been 4 when it came out.
There are adults. There are adults who were born in 2005. Nearly
Yeah.
adult. Mad. Absolutely bonkers. I don't like
Um,
it. Sorry. Can you do something about that, please?
uh, Good try. Do you have like a favorite TV show from when you were young? Like something that you always had on repeat?
um, yes, except that we couldn't have things on repeat in those days.
Yeah.
You just watched an episode a week. If you missed it, you missed it, unless you recorded it on a VHS tape. But yeah, there was a cartoon called The Dreamstone, which no one seems to have heard of, but was my absolute favorite. Um,
Okay.
and I think it was made by a lot of the same people who made Super Ted. It certainly had a lot of crossover in terms of voice actors. Um, and it was about the dream maker who lives in dreamland, and he's kind of like a wizard type dude, and his assistants are Rufus and Amberly, who are noops, which is some kind of cute little rodenty looking vaguely humanoid creature. um, and they um, use the dreamstone to, I think, beam dreams into the minds of children, happy dreams. And they fight against Zordrak, Lord of Nightmares, who's like a big dragony looking guy. And the dream maker has a watchdog fish, who is a flying goldfish with a collar who barks. And the bad guy has an assistant called Erpgore, who is a kind of fawning mad scientist type who has a very long nose and like 10 or something pairs of glasses all along his nose. And it was very imaginative and very funny, and I liked it a lot.
Fair enough. It does sound good.
It had a beautiful theme tune as well by Mike Batt. Mike Batt
Uh,
also did the Wombles songs and uh, Bright Eyes, I think, from Watership Down. So he's well known in children's music circles.
um, Talking about the theme tune, I think theme tunes can be like, have you ever like gone onto YouTube and just listened to the theme songs of different TV shows from a certain year?
Yeah, yeah,
That's like, it's such a nice feeling.
yeah. It takes you right back just hearing the theme tune.
Yeah.
So evocative.
And even if you haven't heard it in like years, if you hear it, you can like kind of hear yourself be like sing along to it, even though you haven't heard it in so
Yeah,
long.
yeah. It can even
Um,
be something you don't remember having watched at the time, but you'll hear the theme tune and something will go. And be
yeah,
like, yes, I remember that thing.
my granddad used to come home every night, every day from work, like during his lunch break, to watch Postman Pat,
Mm-hmm.
which I think's like a nice thing.
Yeah.
And then my other granddad was the same with Shaun the Sheep.
Oh, I liked Shaun the Sheep. That was depressingly, that was still on when my daughter was little.
How long was that show going?
I don't know. It's possibly repeats, but
Yeah. It's still on like daily now, isn't it? I mean I haven't looked.
oh no, I might be wrong actually. It might have just been Timmy Time that was on when she was little, which was the
I remember
spin-off
Timmy
with
Time.
the baby sheep. And Shaun the Sheep might have been on when her sister, who was my stepdaughter from ages 4 to 15, I think, might have been on when she was little, actually.
Um, an interesting story about Timmy Time. So my uncle is called Tim, and they absolutely hate the show. Like
Oh.
they didn't like the show. So young me was like, I know what to do here. It's funny. I'm going to like I'm going to repeat the theme song to that person. Like I'm going to repeat the theme song to them all the time. To the point where we used to have moments where we would sit in like the living room at a table. I would be on my phone, they would be on their computer, and we put something on the TV. None of us would be watching it. None of us would be talking. It was just like head and screens, completely forget each other was there. And we used to call it Timmy Time because of that show. Um, Now it's ended up with us watching movies, and it'll be a movie that I genuinely enjoy, but I'll be like on my phone too much to like actually know what's going on. and I still regularly call it Timmy time because of that show, because of how much they hated that show.
Wow. That's quite a useful phrase, actually, because we don't really have a word for that.
Yeah,
Might use that now.
yeah. Um, but it would literally just like I used to like go and see them just to go and have Timmy time. Just
Oh,
because although we were ignoring each other, it was a nice kind of environment.
yeah, no, I know that.
Have you ever seen The Inbetweeners?
Yes.
Yeah, my dad showed me that when I was in year six.
Oh, a bit young.
His reason being,
Let's learn some good vocabulary from that.
his reason being, it was like the summer after leaving year six. His reason being, I needed to get used to what boys were going to be like in high school.
I mean, fair, yeah. All right.
Um, Along with that, I got introduced to Kevin and Perry.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and like Harry Enfield and Chums, whatever it was.
Yeah, Harry and
Um,
that was my era.
yeah, got introduced to them shows. It's quite weird to hear the different sides of like when you were a kid compared to when I was a kid.
Mm,
Like it's quite interesting to know like the difference.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's wild to me that you could have nostalgic YouTubers.
yeah,
That's just because, yeah, I lived before the internet.
yeah, fair enough.
I remember the
Um,
internet being introduced to my school.
I've not heard that one before. I've heard we had a phone at the end, like we had one phone in the house, we had a phone at the end of the street,
Yeah,
press TV, but I've not heard internet being brought into schools. I've not heard that story.
yeah, yeah. They brought us in. I guess it would have been year 7 or year 8. I'm not sure which. Probably year 7. I'm not sure, but yeah, they brought us into the IT room for a very special lesson on the internet. Um, and it was very, very brief. And then they just kind of let us go wild and said, just don't email anybody. So um, we were let loose on these computers with the internet. And I thought, oh, what's the most scandalous thing that I can do with this amazing technology that I've got here? And so I looked up the White House and I found the White House's website. And as an 11-year-old girl in school in Croydon, I genuinely thought for a short while that I'd hacked into the White House. So
I mean,
yeah, that was
you
my
didn't know what the
first.
internet was, so makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't really understand what it was, and there was no safety either. So I'd be like 12 years old talking to God knows who in chat rooms after school, saying I was staying behind to do my homework. It was awful. It was good fun. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's weird being taught how to use the Wi-Fi, like the internet, because when I was young, you were like just learning how to write, and then you were learning how to type like straight away. And like by that point, you already knew what the internet was. You was already watching stuff on the internet.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
my daughter can't get her head around it either, and I'm not surprised. It's been such. It's been the biggest game changer of
yeah.
anything possibly in history. I'm not sure. Maybe.
Um. So, are you ready for the quiz?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's 3 minutes.
All right.
Um. If you get the question wrong, I will correct you in the time. If you pass, then I'll correct you afterwards.
Okay.
Um. If you pass, I'll come back to it, or we can we'll say I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
And 3 minutes. Be good if I had a 3 minutes timer set up. There we go. Your 3 minutes. Are you ready? I don't want to throw this on you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Your 3 minutes start now.
Okay.
The 1980 Olympic Games was held in Moscow, but a particular nation was notable by its absence. Which nation?
Pass. Can't do sports.
Which vehicle was launched on April 12th, 1981?
I don't know. I wasn't born yet.
I counted them all out, I counted them all back, was notable quote by the journalist Brian Haranahan during which war that started on the 1st of April 1982.
I don't know. It's, cars and wars were not nostalgic for me when I was not born yet.
Which British Prime Minister led their party to re-election by a landslide majority of the 9th of June 1983?
Margaret Thatcher?
Yes, yeah, well
Hey!
done. This year
What?
was dominated by an install action that ran from the 9th of March 1984 until the 3rd of March 1985, but which of the occupation went on strike?
Oh, was this the miners' strike?
Yes, yeah.
Hey.
Which British soap opera debuted on the 19th of February 1985?
85. British soap opera. It's either going to be Coronation Street or EastEnders. I feel like EastEnders is older. I'm going to go for Coronation Street. No, EastEnders.
It's EastEnders. It's EastEnders.
Hey, let's say
On
I got
the
that right.
26th of April 1986, the world disaster of its kind at the time happened near a city, Pripyat, Ukraine. What was the disaster?
Oh, this is the Chernobyl.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
On the 27th of July 1987, a song pledging loyalty was released. Decades later, the song is still going strong and achieved a cult and meme status through the process of rickrolling. What is the name of the song?
Never gonna give you up.
Yeah. The 1st of December 1988 was the first time that day was designated to raise awareness of the pandemic. I'll start this so finish. Caused by HIV. What was the day known as?
Oh, I don't know. Pass.
The World's AIDS Day. That was a
Oh,
timer. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you heard it or just saw me jump. Um, so that was a timer. Do you want me to go
oh,
through the
you
ones
did
that
very
you
well.
didn't? My uncle decided to write these. I sent him what you sent me, and they were just like, "Here you go." I
Ah,
kind of just went
if
along with
if
it,
there'd been more Care Bears content, I would have been brilliant.
and I found the title of the episode. If there be more Cerberus content, do you want me to go through quickly through the ones that you didn't get or got wrong?
Oh,
Um, the Olympic Games in Moscow, the nation that was missing was USA. Um, the vehicle that was launched on April the 12th was a space shuttle.
ah.
Um,
I don't even think of a space shuttle as a vehicle.
the war that started on the 1st of April 1982 was the Falklands War.
Mm,
Um,
I should have got that.
the day that was raised awareness of HIV was known as World AIDS Day.
I should have just guessed that one.
Do you want to go through the ones that you didn't answer, or do you want to leave it there?
I don't mind.
Okay. On the 9th of November 1989, groups of Germans began dismantling what?
Berlin Wall.
Yeah. Iraq invaded which country on the 2nd of August 1990?
I don't know. I should know, but I don't.
I'm gonna mispronounce this really badly. Kuwait? Kuwait.
Wait, I think.
Um, Bryan Adams held the UK #1 spot for a massive 16 weeks with which song?
Everything I do it for you.
Yeah.
That's
Who
more my speed.
described who described 1992 as Annus Horribilis?
Um,
Annus
oh, I've
Horribilis?
seen that somewhere. Is it going to be someone like Ben Elton? I don't know. I don't know.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh
On
wow,
the
not could hardly be less like Ben Elton, really.
on the 1st of January 1993, trade barriers were removed and a single market was created on which continent?
No.
Europe. On the 17th of June, a high-profile low-speed car chase in Los Angeles made the news all over the world. Which famous athlete and actor was in the fraud Bronco?
Again, pass.
O.J. Simpson.
Oh,
Britpop peaked with the chart battle between Oasis and Blur for the #1 single, but what was the name of the song that Covert got the #1 spot?
ooh, don't actually remember. Is it Wonderwall or Don't Look Back in Anger?
It was Country House by Blur.
Oh, Blur won. Oh, you see,
Rightly so.
I was such a sad little snob at the time that I tried to avoid it. I'm interested
Fair enough.
now.
Fair enough.
Now it's
Fair enough.
nostalgic. I'm interested.
The first mammal to be successfully cloned from an adult cell was born on the 5th of July, 1996. What was the animal called?
Dolly the sheep.
Yeah. Who became Prime Minister when he led Labour Party to a landslide victory in the general election held in the 1st of May, 1997?
Tony Blair.
Yes. In February, Andrew Wakefield published a study in the Lancet that would later be extensively debunked that linked the MMR vaccine with which condition?
Um, I don't know.
Autism.
Oh, I was going to say
Nine.
autism, but I thought that was a bit more recent. Mm.
This is your last question, and I'm not even surprised this isn't it. 1999 was a great year for cinema with films such as Fight Club, The Sixth Sense, American Beauty, The Matrix, and The Green Mile being released. The top grossing film of the year was first part of a prequel trilogy. What was it called?
Um, it's 1999, a prequel trilogy. Oh, was it? Oh, it's the Star Wars guy, the Star Wars
Oh,
one, the
I'll
Phantom
give you that. I'll
Menace.
give you that.
Phantom Menace.
It was.
Hey,
It's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
there we go.
You have survived the chosen subject.
Ish.
Um, you are welcome back on any time.
Oh, thank you.
Although not many people want to come back. Um,
Back on again
thank you for
sometime.
being, yeah, thank you for being on the podcast.